Hello, everyone. We'll make a start while everyone's coming into into the room today. So hello and welcome. My name is Jonathan Davis. I'm the head of content at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and I'm delighted to welcome you today to this episode of the How to Academy Small Business Masterclasses. These interactive masterclasses are designed to arm you with the actionable insights and ideas and advice that you can take into your business to improve your processes, your plans, and your outcomes. I'm delighted to welcome today Darren Brennan, a Regional Sales Director at Salesforce, and today we are going to be discussing the basics of CRM for small businesses. I'm going to be asking Darren a number of questions on the topic, but if you do have your own questions, then leave them in the Q&A function rather than the chat function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll do our best to get to those questions at the end. I don't want to touch on the topic too much before we kind of get underway properly. So I'll introduce Darren and pass over to you. And it'd be great to hear a little bit more about yourself, Darren, and what you do at Salesforce.
Thanks, Jonathan. And first of all, thank you to everybody. It's great to be here and to have a conversation. Especially, I work with small businesses every day, so it's something close to my heart. So if I can share a little bit of insight around, how to get the most out of your CRM, then I'll be delighted to do that. To give you a little bit of background, as Jonathan said, I'm the sales director for what we call high tech sector in Salesforce, and specifically focusing on small businesses. To give a little bit of background in terms of how I started, my journey actually goes all the way back to 2005. So quite an interesting journey. I started out as an account executive in Salesforce. And I suppose it was at a time where, software as a service wasn't really that well known. So back then I probably had to, explain who Salesforce was, number one, and number two, then also the concept of, cloud computing as well. But it's been a great journey. Since 2005, I've had the opportunity to work as an account executive in the UK market. I guess 3 years was my lucky number. 3 years in the UK market, and then 3 years in the Benelux market, and then again 3 years in what we called the emerging markets, South Africa and Israel. So I've had a very varied career in that respect, and really enjoyed having the customer engagement. Really, you can call it sales, but I think we're all selling at the end of the day. It's all about relationships. And then that took me up to I think it was about 2014, and I had the opportunity to transition across into a people manager's role. So I've managed a couple of business development teams as well within Salesforce, which I really enjoyed. And then more recently, the last 3 years, I'm back into kind of what we call our term direct sales, managing different sales teams. So yeah, that's a little bit around my kind of background and what I do at Salesforce. Over to you, Jonathan, if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely, a fantastic introduction, and certainly sounds like you've kind of covered a lot of areas in your time. So like you said, since 2005. So obviously we're here to talk about CRM. So I guess it'd be a great place to start with understanding what is CRM in terms of the actual definition, and guess the actual kind of logistics and mechanics of what that means.
Yeah. So what is CRM? So sorry, Jonathan, if I missed a little bit there. You did break up, but I think I got the gist of it. So what is CRM? Well, you know what? Everything's always easy when you know how. Okay, so when someone explains to you what is CRM, you'll understand the concept. But it's not a silly question. You don't know what you don't know, and that's the way I figured as well. I'm 16 years in the business, and I'm learning every day. CRM for me is customer relationship management, but the way I like to think of it is it's like a central repository for all your data. If you're a small business and you're starting, you're just starting up, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, where am I going to put my data for the customers that I do have? Where do I store it in an area, like in a place that I can, see that data, understand how that data is working, access that data, and use that data in the most, intuitive way. So I think that's the first thing is, I view it as a central repository. I view it as a framework as well. So a framework of best practices. So because Salesforce have been in the business for so long, and our sole business is CRM, we've been very much focused on implementing best practices in terms of processes and building them into CRM. But I think the average person is probably going to think of CRM as a sales contact management system. So somewhere where you put your contacts and somewhere where you manage your sales, etc. But I think that's evolved over the last number of years. And if I look at Salesforce as a company, it started out in 1999 by Mark Benioff. And the name probably doesn't do us any help today, but when we started out, we were very much focused on Sales Cloud. And that's evolved now. That's evolved to encompass Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and various other clouds. But the one unique differentiator is that it's all built on a singular platform. And that's really, really important. Now, that might seem like a small point, but it's really a big point. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking as a small business to, even start off with Sales Cloud, you want to know that your system will operate with other components within the Salesforce ecosystem. So, for example, you can start out with a seed and grow approach, focusing on Sales Cloud, and then you can, bring in your Service Cloud, your Marketing Cloud, without having to worry about any integration issues or, any heavy lifting. So having it on the one platform just provides that connectivity that you need, whether it's desktop or whether it's mobile, etc. So yeah, in a nutshell, I would say CRM is about managing relationships. So how best can you serve your customers, right? And this tool will help you do just that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on it there, that a lot of people probably view it, like you said, perhaps not helpfully, but by the name, just view it as a sales kind of management aspect. So going by what you've just said there, it certainly evolved beyond just the sales. Do you think that has, not necessarily just Salesforce, but in the wider industry, do you think that has come across, that it is more than just a sales tool?
Yeah, I think especially like if you look at, one of the biggest challenges we have right now is, we're all coming out of the pandemic, how best to serve your customer. And I think that's probably accelerated the, digitalization of engagement with our customers. So it's no longer just about, okay, how can we serve our customers from a sales perspective? How can we also service them from a service perspective as well? And what type of experience can we give them in between that, right? From a marketing point of view, we want to give them the best experience as possible. So having having that evolution of both sales and service and marketing, it gives you as a business owner, number one, a full 360-degree view of your customer. Now, I know that term gets bandied around, 360-degree view of your customer, but ultimately that's what's gold in this whole, kind of, when you look at CRM, it's having that view, because as a business, you want to be able to understand, well, who are my customers? What's working well? What's not working well? What are the trends in terms of, is there a trend, in how our customers are engaging with us or how they're buying from us? And if I can identify what's working well, then I can replicate that, okay? And then also in terms of how we're actually serving our customers, I think we want to automate as much as possible. What we're seeing is customers prefer self-service. So they don't want to be getting on the phone and spending 20 minutes waiting or 5 minutes waiting to speak to a customer service agent. They want to be able to self-help. They want to be able to go to a portal. They want to be able to go to Google. They want to be able to, be sent a link where they can actually, get easy access to, Q&As and questions that they might have. So I think the whole evolution has really been sped up by the pandemic, and a lot of companies are now looking at, how can we engage with our customers where our customers are, and how they want to get engaged as well, because it's not about how we want to serve our customers, it's about how our customers want to be served. And that's ultimately how Salesforce can help, because there's lots of different mediums, which I'll talk about later, in which we can, better serve our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And something you mentioned there is about that it becoming more service orientated. It is certainly fair to say that there's kind of that old age ethos of in customer service, that the customer is always right. With the kind of evolution of CRM, do you think that concept is changing?
Yeah, thinking about that question, I can probably approach it from 2 points of view. Like, first of all, in how Salesforce serve our customers, right? I don't think it's any longer about, is the customer right? I think, the question for us is, how can we be fair to our customers? How can we adapt to their needs? And I think what we need to do on the second perspective is challenge them constructively, challenge customers constructively. And why I say that is because what I've known and what I've learned over the number of years is that with Salesforce, there's probably 10 different ways of doing things. Okay. So if a customer comes to us and they're looking to implement Salesforce and they've got a list of objectives that they're trying to achieve, or there's some challenges they're trying to solve, I think it's our job as, whether you want to call us, account executives, or my team as account executives, or consultative advisors. It's our job to, one, understand your business, because if we understand your business more, we can share some, insights in how other customers do it. And that's where we can then leverage our experience and, give recommendations around, well, look, this is maybe a way that you're managing your leads or your opportunities right now. But what we seem to be very successful in the past, and what other companies in your area are doing, is they're actually managing their leads and opportunities in this particular way. So I think there's a lot of best practice sharing that we can offer to customers. And I think that's why, having those best practices built into the framework within CRM is going to help your customer, help you as a business grow. Okay. If that inbuilt framework wasn't there, then scaling and growing will be very, very difficult. So it acts really like a template to keep a startup company moving in the right direction, so you can really focus on your innovation and your creativity and where you need to be with your customers, but then being able to manage all those processes, whether it's from a sales, whether it's from a service, or whether it's from a marketing perspective, all in Salesforce. So it's kind of taking a lot of the heavy lifting out of it for you. And really what you need to get right is the implementation side of it, which I'm sure we'll talk about as we go forward. But, to answer your question, it's not about being right. It's about being able to constructively challenge and provide insights to our customers. And then in terms of how Salesforce operate, absolutely, it's about being fair and being able to adapt to our customers' needs.
Fantastic. That's really interesting. And in terms of kind of the strategy behind it, what are the kind of fundamentals of a good CRM strategy?
It's a good question, and it's something that I can appreciate that as a small business. A lot of small businesses will struggle in terms of, where do we start? Like, we don't have our strategists on board. We don't have endless amounts of resources. So I think the first question is, have a plan, right? Or sorry, the first point will be, have a plan. Okay. That's really, really important. And part of that plan is, well, what am I trying to achieve here? Is it a short-term plan? Am I looking to put in a tool that will simply just manage my current situation for a short term? Or am I looking for a tool that will help, accelerate our growth as a business, but is also scalable? Because ultimately you want a system that, you can rely on for the next, not just 1, 3 years, 5 years and more. You don't want to have to go through the process again, right? Because it's very time consuming going through a CRM evaluation process. It requires a lot of your time and your efforts. So I think definitely, making a plan around, what's my budget? What is it that I actually want to achieve? What are my goals? What are the challenges? And what does the long-term plan look like in terms of my business? So for example, we'll get a lot of customers who will come to us and say, look, we're trying to increase, in terms of our objectives, we're trying to increase our market share by 5%. We're trying to increase our revenues by X amount. And then there'll be a lot of challenges where, they might have a top 3 challenges, which is, look, we need to reduce our attrition, our customer attrition. We need to better manage our kind of how we serve our customers, or we need better, processes in place for our sales organization. Because quite frankly, a big bugbear that comes up is, I don't know what my sales team might be doing. All right. So I need to understand where are they, what are they doing? How do we collate all that information? So yeah, I think having a plan is the key element.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And you mentioned something there about implementation. One of the questions that we've actually had through the Q&A function already, and I was going to do it at the end, but it kind of worked in nicely there.
Yeah.
So Harry asks, at what stage of business do you recommend looking into a CRM system?
Okay, so like I'll answer this question in the most honest way that I can. And of course I'm Salesforce biased, because guess what? I've been working with Salesforce for 16 years. But if I was starting out my own business tomorrow, genuinely, I'd be buying one of our entry level packages like Essentials, and I'd be putting that in place from day one, because it gets more difficult the longer you leave it. If you think about it, you'd have, a lot of small companies will have fragmented systems, Excel spreadsheets, other different applications, numerous apps on and systems on the go, and it becomes then hard to triangulate all the information. So I think if you can start out at the very beginning with a CRM system, that is going to give you the centralized point that you need to go in and go, okay, well, where are my customers? Who are my customers? How are we serving my customers? What's happening with my customers? How can I make improvements? You'll be able to, look at your reporting, look at your dashboards, and make, kind of informed decisions around your business. So I think that's never too early. I think, putting that in place from the beginning, well, then it means you're cutting out maybe a lot of those bad habits, and you're able to really just focus then on your customers. And also think about it as well, like in terms of, inputting your leads. There's probably a lot of small companies out there right now, and startup companies, that are struggling with, where are my leads going to? Okay, like I know that's a very big common issue that we come across. So how can we, get visibility on those leads and make sure that we're getting the most out of those leads, that we're bringing it through a sales process, and we can monitor every aspect of that to see what happens. Because a lot of times, they go into a black hole, and we don't know what happens with all those fragmented systems. So really, my advice will be, it's never too early. It's never too late, obviously, either. Okay, but the sooner you implement, the easier it will be to continue on that kind of that path.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hopefully, I'm sure it will, but hopefully that answers your question nicely there, Harry. So in terms of obviously that aspect of getting things in place early, so obviously I imagine that you obviously believe that that having a CRM system and strategy in place is essential to growth. Why is it so important to grow in your business?
Because I think it's like anything in life, and I know it's crazy I'm saying that, but it's like having structure, right? It's having structure in your as much having structure in your personal life, it's having structure in your professional life, it's having structure in your business. I think it's great to have the right business concept. It's great to be that person who's who minds works in that way, where they can come up with great ideas. But then how do you manage the day-to-day, the very practical elements of it? So I think that's where Salesforce makes a big difference, is managing that structure, which I think if you look at it and break it down, and we break it down into Sales Cloud, for example, how do you want to be able to give your salespeople the best tools, right? So you want to hire the best people you can, and obviously it's a competitive market out there, and of course budgets are constrained, right? But you want to hire the best people you can, but you also want to give them the best tool for them, to enable them to do the best job that they can, and give them the best kind of chance, right? And in terms of what Salesforce does is, especially within the Sales Cloud arena, it provides, for example, we have artificial intelligence now built in across all our clouds. So what that will do, as an example, it can look at the different types of leads coming in and start picking up on trends around these particular leads are, they seem to be more successful in closing. Or, when you're certain salespeople are working opportunities, it might pick up on certain elements of how that opportunity's been managed, and it'll highlight to you, well, actually, when you do ABC on this particular opportunity, you tend to get a better result. So it's about giving your people, the company members, the right tools to make them more successful. That will help grow. It'll help with your win rates. It'll help with your conversion rates. And let's not be naive, okay? Everything's going to be hard work as a startup business, absolutely. But you're giving them the best chance with these tools to elevate that growth and realize their success. Likewise, if you look at the service side of the business, what Salesforce can do in particular is reduce your dependency on having lots of service agents by automating a lot of the processes. So for example, when I started in Salesforce back in 2005, most of the kind of engagement with customers was via telephone, or maybe it was going to be text or email. That's completely changed in terms of digital engagement. So what I mean by that is, there are customers now who want to engage on Twitter. There's customers now who want to engage on Facebook. And how do we manage those conversations? So can we bring those conversations, which you can with Salesforce? You can bring them into your Salesforce, create cases out of those conversations, and then make sure that you're pushing out positive sentiment to customers. So I think it's about, from the service perspective, providing those different mediums in which how your customers want to be served, and making them, giving them the best experience possible. So in two ways, you're giving your salespeople the best tools to give them the best chance of being more successful. That's going to help your win rates. It's going to help your conversion. It's going to help your bottom line in terms of your revenues. And again, reducing costs then on the service side by automating as much, whether it's chatbots, where you go to a website and you've got customers, who want to have a conversation but not pick up a phone, or whether it's customer community where they just want to go and have a look at the Q&A or find a bit of content, etc. So again, it's all about improving that relationship with your customer, which ultimately is going to improve your revenues as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And you probably answered my my next question, which is always wonderful because it makes my job easier. I was going to ask how CRM effectively helps your business to effectively communicate with customers. But like I said, answered that perfectly already, which is fantastic. So obviously you mentioned you've been with Salesforce since 2005, and in that time, what are some of the biggest wins that you've seen customers have by implementing CRM?
Yeah, so I think, well, the first thing I'll say is, if the audience, the attendees today would like to go to our website, you'll see there's plenty of customer references there. Okay, so I'm not going to mention particularly many names, if any, today. I know PensionBee is one of the kind of fintech customers that has doubled their size. They have there's so many customers out there. There's literally hundreds of thousands of customers, both within the startup, both within small, medium business, etc., that have used Salesforce and realized great results. Ultimately, what you got to remember is we're a subscription-based business. If Salesforce stops delivering, then our customers, they're not going to stay with the service, right? So that's one thing we've been really, really good at, is actually listening to our customers, understanding what they want in terms of those 3 free upgrades each year. So what is it that's top of mind for them? And we actually have a website. I hope I get it right. It's ideas. It's either /salesforce.com or it's ideas.salesforce.com. You'll find it anyway if you go to your Google browser, right? But basically, I do recommend take a look at that. That's where you can go as a customer and actually input all your ideas around, well, actually, I think this would be a nice feature. I think this would be a great idea within Salesforce. And then other customers get to vote on it. And then that gets included then into the next, well, obviously, there's X number that they can include, but the best ideas float to the top, and that then gets brought in to the next release. So I think it's really, really key that that you're listening, or that we're listening to our customers, and that we're able to then implement that. And I think that really, really helps. But sorry, Jonathan, if you just remind me of the remainder of that question there again, because I know I have a tendency to go and I'm quite passionate about it, so it might go off.
That's all right. So we were just looking for kind of some of the biggest wins that you've
seen. Perfect. So yeah, so go back to that then. So look, it's for me, it's not about which company had the biggest win, right? That's not what it's about, right? For me, it's around what are the characteristics, what are the kind of upsides that what's the return on investment, what can you expect with Salesforce, and I think, what does success look like? For me, it looks like really good adoption. Okay, so it's where you have a business that has made the decision and went, right, Salesforce is the right solution for our business. We've completed our due diligence, right? What does that mean? They've went through the full kind of evaluation of the software. They've looked at the competition, right? Because guess what? It's healthy to look at the competition, right? So I always recommend, absolutely go and look at the competition, do your full due diligence, and then speak to customers, right? Speak to our customers, because the one thing that I think, when I look back and I go, well, how does Salesforce stand out? Our customers sell Salesforce better than anybody else, including myself, right? And I always like referring customers to other customers, because warts and all, they will tell you, look, this is you know, the kind of, these are the challenges we had, but this is the outcome that we had. And some of those outcomes will be, you know, having that full 360-degree view, as I say, which I know gets bandied about, but in reality, if you can tell how the experience that your customer is getting, and you can see how they're being served, and you can see what products they're being buying, and you can identify upside and upgrades, and you can also make sure that they're being serviced in an efficient, you know, an efficient manner, that there's really good manual element out of taking that manual element out of the day-to-day job. Sounds like something really simple, doesn't it? But if you can free up some time for your sales people to sell more, then that's another big win, right? Equally with the service agent, if you can free up more time for them to you know, I guess, serve more customers, but they're not getting stuck in the manual processes, then again, they become more efficient as well. Okay, and they touch more customers in the process. So, you know, the different levels of you know, what does success look like? We have a lot of customers, for example, who are very much focused on you know, integration as well. So they might do that as a phase 1 of the project. They might do it as a phase 2 of the project, and they'll want to, you know, maybe integrate with another you know, third-party application. The good news is Salesforce has an open application protocol interface. So sorry, I know I'm shooting acronyms out here, but for anybody who doesn't know, it just allows you, Salesforce can connect with any other third-party system that has an API. Okay, so that's just keeping it at the kind of basic level, but it's one of the really important features, because, you know, having that high level adoption where, you know, we have everybody using the system, everybody trained up, having integration with numerous, you know, with other, you know, back-end systems that you might have, is really important. Having that full 360-degree view, not just of sales. So absolutely start with a seed and grow approach, but over time, you know, expand that to include service and marketing, because it gives you then the full view. You know, they're really, really important elements of measuring your success. So regardless of what company, I've seen so many companies with so many different success stories, but I think, you know, there really are the kind of key elements.
Excellent, thank you. And you mentioned something in that answer about challenges, or about your customers kind of talking about the challenges and how they've overcome them. In terms of CRM, kind of as a whole, as a concept, and as a strategy, what are the biggest challenges that businesses are facing today?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's, in my mind, when I think about, okay, what are the challenges that they're facing? Obviously, there's probably two sides of it. Maybe if I speak to the around the Salesforce perspective, as a company, you've got a limited budget. I've said that at the beginning, but I'm going to highlight it again, right? Because it's very true. You've got limited budget, you've got limited resources, and you may not be an expert in CRM, and that's okay. But I think what's really, really important is how you go about you know, reviewing and evaluating CRM and evaluating Salesforce in particular. So it's taking the time to understand what are there's no point in having 10 objectives, right? You need to bring it back and go, okay, I'll focus on the top 3 objectives in terms of what I need to achieve for my business. So it's understanding, okay, what are my top 3 objectives? What are my top 3 challenges that I want to solve? So I think, you know, that's a really good place to start. You know, because you want to ensure that your valuation is going to be successful. So you need to make it measurable, right? So if you don't have anything to measure it against, then that's going to be an issue. I think from a technology point of view, you know, having a unified platform is really, really important. So if you're looking at a CRM solution, you'll do your due diligence, you look at the competition. But one of the major advantages is that with Salesforce, it's unified in one platform. And that just means, if you think about it, it's like going to Spotify. It's not about, oh, if I listen to this song, is it going to be on a different platform? Oh, if I go to, you know, if I want this type of music, it's going to be on another platform. Everything's there for you. It's kind of like a Lego land. So you just build and you add the pieces in. So that's really, really important. I think the other things to look out for as well are security. So you want a system that is, you know, multi-factor security, with, you know, all the latest accreditations which Salesforce has. That's super, super important. We have data centers all around the world. And we know with all the latest in terms of, failover technology, etc., our uptime is like 3 nines, which is phenomenal. We have a trust.salesforce website as well. You can go in and you can check what the uptime of our service is at any time. That was brought about, I think, about 10 years ago in order to instill trust with our customers. So again, just going back to that, having that having that unified platform, having it secure, where you can go and check out any of the accreditations, see what the response time is on the servers and so forth is really, really key. And then of course the ultimate really is a user friendly system that's intuitive, and Salesforce is always really focused on that. That's always been a real key thing, because like anything, and one of the analogies I always use is probably a really bad analogy, but I'll use it again. You can, somebody could drop off, they could drop off a cart on my doorstep if I was so lucky to win one, right? And let's say somebody dropped off a Ferrari F40 or something like that as a kit car format, okay? I could, maybe brag to my friends, hey, look, isn't it great? I've got one of the best cars in the world, right? But if I don't know how to put that together, no matter how good it is, if I don't put that together in the right way, or get an expert to put that together in the right way, then that's going to be, that's not going to be a really great car to drive, okay? So again, what to look out for? Look out for a good partner, right? Don't try to self-implement, will be my advice, unless you've got like previous experts who've, implemented before. So definitely look at getting a good partner who has the best practice, has all that knowledge in making sure it's going to be a success. Because if you have to do, and again, I'll probably, talk about this later on, or in some, go into more detail in one or two further questions, but if you have to go through the process of setting up Salesforce or implementing it again, that's going to be painful and it's going to be more costly. So I always recommend get a good partner. There can always be 2 or 3 different options that are put forward, but it's a real key element.
Yeah, I think that was more than suitable analogy there. And when you mentioned partner there, just for clarity, are you talking business partner? Are you talking a kind of a senior employee, or are you talking in terms of a partner at a platform like Salesforce?
Yeah, no, thanks for actually for highlighting that, Jonathan. Yeah, so just to be specific, so we within the Salesforce ecosystem, we have what we call implementation partners. Okay, so they will be Salesforce experts at implementing the system. So if you go to a sales process or an evaluation with Salesforce, you will be liaising with one of our account executives, who will essentially take you through the evaluation process, understand your objectives, your challenges, but at the same time they'll also showcase a demonstration based on what you're looking to achieve, etc. But then it comes to the point where, okay, the vision you've shown me looks fantastic, but how do I turn that into, how do I turn your software into my vision? So that's where we introduce the partner, and the partner becomes part of the evaluation process and the scoping. So the partner will then give a separate kind of like what we call an SOW, a statement of work, which will break down what they need to do in order to turn this template into your customized vision, right? Which is your working kind of your working Salesforce. So the partner is instrumental, because and typically it obviously depends on what you're looking to do and how much integrations, right? But they'll be able to, based on your exact requirements, give you a set time frame, saying, look, we're looking at this particular instance, it could be 2 weeks, or maybe it's going to be a week quick start, or maybe it's going to be a month to set up. And here's a breakdown of the different things we're looking at in terms of setting up the users, in terms of training, in terms of integrations, in terms of customizations, and then what those associated costs are, right? So what I always recommend is that our customers, they go, or anybody considering looking at Salesforce or buying Salesforce, we'll look at 2 partners, okay? So that they can make a judgment and go, because I think working with a partner as well, it's about relationships. So it's not just about, oh, what's the cheapest price. You want a really good partner to do a really good job in your implementation, because if that's done right, then you've got your foundation going forward. You've got your foundation, and you can start really, you can more and more focus on whatever service, whatever product that you're providing. And you can focus on that element as opposed to getting tied up in all the processes all the time. So I think that's a real important point to highlight.
Thank you. And I know we touched on sort of the kind of size of a business that needs to be, obviously, as you mentioned, it can be absolutely smallest points, as you mentioned, kind of starting from day one. But in terms of, and this is actually a question that has come through the Q&A function, but I was going to ask it anyway. It's from an anonymous attendee, but they've asked what kind of fee you can kind of expect to pay for a starter system. They said that there's 4 people in their team, but they're expecting to scale in the near future.
Yeah, great question. So, the one thing I will say is Salesforce has never been known as being the cheapest. So again, I'm just being completely honest and upfront with everybody. It is a premium product, and it's the product that is the solution that is proven to give them the most return on investment to really give you that success that you need. And that's probably why I think it's bi-directional, right? So that what I mean by that is, if we're not making our customers more successful, then our customers aren't going to continue to buy from Salesforce. So that's probably the first thing to say. But if we look at the packages, we've got our starter pack essentials. It starts at £20 per user per month. Okay. And again, that would be perfect for a startup organization that has a handful of staff that they're looking to roll out their first CRM. It's affordable. It has everything you need in terms of it's got basic sales and service elements to manage your business. You can run your reports and your dashboards, slice and dice your information. It's got everything that you need, and it's only when that you start growing and you're adding more users and you're hiring more staff and then maybe that some of your processes become more complex in terms of maybe integration or in terms of adding more custom objects or approvals, etc. When that starts to ramp up, that's typically when we see a startup organization then going, okay, well, actually, we want to look at your next edition, which might be the professional edition, which is £60 per user per month. Okay, so we've basically got, the great thing about Salesforce is, everybody uses the same platform. It doesn't matter if you're, if you're Coca-Cola or if you're a startup organization, right? Everybody gets the same platform, but the edition that you use is, is aligned to the segment that you're in. Okay, so if you're a startup, it's affordable. You've got your essential edition, and as that business grows, you're not swapping out your platform. You're not having to go through the same painful process of doing another evaluation, do another implementation. You can upgrade to our professional edition, upgrade to our enterprise edition, etc., etc. So I think it's having that path in place. But definitely, I know for myself, I can put my hand on heart and say, would I, what would I start with? I'd start with the Essentials edition if I was a startup organization, because it's really good value and it's got the bones of everything that you need there, so that if your business, and hopefully your business is growing and down the line, then, it's naturally going to, you're naturally going to want to upgrade to the professional edition, but it's not going to require any work on your side to, migrate to professional edition. It's just additional features and functionality will get switched on in the background, and then you can start taking, advantage of those features and functionality. So everything is about the least amount of lifting you have to do, which is, in terms of, maintenance, in terms of managing the system on a day-to-day. That really is the key. So you as a customer can focus on your business.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I'm sure that'll be very, very helpful to quite a lot of the attendees here. So just a couple more from me before we move on to a couple of the audience questions. So you probably touched on this slightly earlier when I asked about challenges, but I wonder if I could just ask what are the kind of biggest mistakes that you see businesses or entrepreneurs make when it comes to their CRM strategy. What are the biggest mistakes that you see?
Yeah, so I think again it's going back to some of what I've mentioned before, not having a plan. Okay, so not having a plan is number one, right? Because plan to fail to plan to fail, right? I know we've all heard that analogy, right? But it is true. You got to have a plan in place, right, of what you're looking to achieve. I think where I've seen companies fail is, this needs to be driven from the top down. Okay, so adoption is really, really key. And although Salesforce is very intuitive, as a business, you need to be you need to be bought in, right? So if you're making that investment, then you need to be bought into it, and you need to make sure that everybody in your team's bought into it, because there's always an element of change management there as well. And not everybody likes to change, and I get that, but we all have to change, myself included. I haven't stood still in the last 16 years. It's just been constant evolution, and it's good to be outside the comfort zone. But I think definitely, it's looking at having a plan in place. Some other elements will be around implementation, which I've touched on. So, if you're looking at, trying to be thrifty, that can bite you back, and you end up spending twice more. And I'm not just talking about with Salesforce, but if you don't have a good implementation partner in place to help you roll out Salesforce, then you are reducing your chances of success, earlier return on investment, and doubling your chances that you'll have to spend again because you didn't get it right in the first place. So, I would definitely say, look carefully at the implementation side. Try not to self-implement where possible. Yeah, it'll heighten your kind of your risk factor.
Excellent, thank you. I think that's pretty much it from me. So there's a couple of attendee questions that kind of haven't been touched on, or I'm going to kind of tweak in it
Sure.
in another slightly direction. So someone called Raina has asked if any funeral directors use the Salesforce platform, which I totally understand with so many using it that you might not know off the top of your head. So I'll kind of tweak that in a different direction and say, are there any types of businesses or any particular industries that don't necessarily need CRM, doesn't particularly work, or is it kind of essential for every type?
Yeah, so really, really, really good question. I think how to look at it is breaking it out to B2B and B2C, business to business, business to consumer. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know of any names off the top of my head, but I think it's definitely, it's a question we can ask internally. What I'd say is the link that you're going to share out at the end, Jonathan, there's a landing page there. I think, there'll be certain questions I can answer, and I'm happy to answer them. But if I don't know them, what I'd suggest is go to the landing page, put your question in that, and I think then that will get routed, and you'll have one of our representatives kind of reach out, and they can do a little bit of research around what type of customers we have within that particular space, right? So the short answer is yes, we would have customers in that space. There isn't a space that we don't have customers. Okay, it's probably more a question around, is there a big trend in that particular area that you'll have a lot of customers, or will you have a big footprint in that area? I don't know the answer to that, but I think anywhere where you have a business that's serving, it doesn't matter what that service is. If it's B2C or if it's B2B, well then our model works and will help those type of businesses grow.
Okay, excellent. I'm not sure if it was the same for everyone else. I could hear you perfectly, but your camera froze a little bit. But thank you for that. Yeah, I've already popped the Salesforce landing page into the chat function, so everyone's got that there. And I will share your LinkedIn profile as well, as you mentioned there. Any questions that you do have for Darren, that you can follow up there, and I'm sure you'll be more than happy to assist. One final one. So it's another question from Harry, who has asked what business processes will CRM improve, which I know we've already touched on. So I'll kind of extend it into, is there, obviously you mentioned that budget, particularly for startups, is going to be a big kind of stumbling block. Is there a kind of particular avenue of a CRM system that you would suggest starting off with? So I know, as we said at the start, it's typically seen as sales focused, but there's marketing and other avenues in there as well.
Yeah.
Is there one that you suggest this is what you really need to start off with and kind of build from there?
Well, no, I think it depends. I think it depends on. We have a lot of customers that also start with Service Cloud, so they will be, and then once they take a phase approach, once that's set up and it's successful and they're getting the return on investment, then they'll expand the footprint to include Sales Cloud. So I think it really depends. In terms of the processes, to answer that particular question, there's so many processes, right? There's hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of processes within Salesforce that can be, that are already implemented out of the box or can be implemented. But the types of processes that we see improvements across the board would be, lead conversion, it's the opportunity management side of things as well, forecasting. The reporting side is huge. If you can run reports and go, who are my customers? Where are my customers? Which ones are, purchasing this service? Which ones are purchasing that service? How do I compare year on year in terms of growth? Where, who's doing well in terms of on the sales team? It's about being able to identify trends. So I think the processes, we're laden with processes within Salesforce that will genuinely help improve, the sales output. Same with service as well. Okay, so again, I've spoken around, it's about automating a whole load of different service, kind of manual service elements. So for example, you might have certain articles that are, there'd be certain cases that a customer might be logging on a regular basis. And instead of, service agent having to go in and manually push that out, we can make those articles and that content available on a customer portal. Or, the service agent, instead of having to put the email together, can just push out the email automatically. Or, they'll type in certain words and content and it'll bring that up. So that, again, it's just making their life easier. Chatbots, for example, will be another example of a process that is going to help give a better experience for the customer. Our agent console in service gives the service agent a multiple view of the customer, including also from a sales perspective, so they can identify whether there's an upgrade potential as well, because sometimes a problem may also lead to an opportunity, right? And we fix something, but we realize actually you're maxed out, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, on this particular product or service. We would recommend that you upgrade to our next one, which is product X. So there's so many different ways, even from a marketing perspective as well. Looking at how we score the leads. So Salesforce will help you score those leads, tell you which are the hot leads, which aren't the hot leads, where to point your resources in terms of the hot leads. Then it'll follow a customer journey in terms of how we engage, who's opened what emails, how many times, who's not interested anymore, what's the next bit of content that we can send to them. So it really is about how we engage our customers. It's full of processes. What I would say to that particular person is, what is it that you're looking to achieve? What are the processes that you're looking to solve or include? And that's probably a good way to start, because every business is different. Ironically, every business is the same, right? Everybody's trying to, get profit. Everybody's trying to keep their costs down. Everyone's trying to grow, but your processes are what's in between, and that's different. So I think, engage with one of our Salesforce representatives, do a deep dive discovery, give as much information as possible around what you're looking to achieve, what you're looking to solve, and then we can take that back and we can understand it, and then we can project that as in a demonstration as your vision for your business going forward, and show you, how your business could be and how we can solve some of those issues. And that's what we do best. So yeah, hopefully I've answered that question.
Yeah, I'd certainly think so. That's probably it from the audience questions. Just one final one from me quickly before we finish. So if you wanted the audience to take 3 key points away from today's session, what would they be?
Yeah, so if you're looking at a CRM, do include Salesforce. We're the only vendor out there that has a unified platform. Okay, so everything bolts in like Legoland. It means you don't have to fiddle around with integration, unless you're obviously integrating to a third-party application. And every system, if you've got a third-party application, then that's just an integration question. But the reality is being able to bolt on Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud without any, without having to, do any additional integration is a real plus. So unified platform, something that's secure, something that's proven. That's what Salesforce is. Do your due diligence. Don't take my word for it. Please don't take my word for it. I'm a salesperson, right? I put my hand up. But what I will tell you is, it's why I'm still working at Salesforce 16 years later, hand in heart. I can tell you that, we're selling the best solution out there, and I can stand over what we sell. Go and speak to our customers, warts and all. They will tell you, right, their experience of Salesforce, but they will also, they'll tell you what the success is and how to get the most out of it as well. So go and do your due diligence. Look at the competition. Do a comparison. But if you're making a comparison, pick some tangible measurements, right, that you can compare. Okay. So I think, yeah, I'm just, thinking to myself here, we've got platform, unified platform, secure, that's proven, and then also doing your due diligence, which I think I've just kind of mentioned there. So they're probably the top three that come to mind for me.
Excellent, thank you. And yeah, Darren, thank you so much for your time and your insight today, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today. And that kind of brings to an end this episode. The next episode of the How To Academy takes place not next Wednesday, at the same time on Wednesday, the 20th of October. And that one is with Chu Chow, who's the founder of Perkbox and Mintago, and he's going to be discussing productivity methods for small businesses. And hopefully we'll see all of you there. But that's it for today. Like I said, Darren, thank you so much for your time, and thank you.
Pleasure. I hope I.
So enjoy the rest
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending. Best of luck. Take care.